You are not undisciplined. You are just punishing yourself into paralysis. There is a difference. When you scream at yourself for being lazy and use shame to force yourself forward, you trigger shutdown. Your nervous system cannot process attack and execute movement at the same time. Therefore, every goal feels impossible. Every morning feels like dragging yourself through concrete. You call it discipline, but discipline is not what you are practicing. What you are practicing is self-attack. The moment you notice the voice screaming that you are worthless, pathetic, a waste of potential who will never change, that is not motivation. That is your body preparing to freeze. You have confused cruelty with standards. You believe the harder you are on yourself, the more you will finally move. But that is not how your biology works. When you shame yourself, your brain does not register a coach. It registers a treat. And when your brain detects threat, it does not mobilize, it shuts down. Therefore, the voice that tells you to stop being lazy is the exact voice keeping you stuck. You already knew this somewhere. You have spent years trying to bully yourself into action, and it has never worked for more than 3 days. Every system collapsed, every promise broken, every plan abandoned. And still, you blamed yourself for lacking the discipline to follow through. You thought the problem was you. But the problem was never you. The problem was the method. Your internal voice sounds like someone who hates you, and you cannot build a life while someone who hates you is holding the wheel. Therefore, you do not need more discipline. You need to stop treating yourself like the enemy. The voice says you are lazy, but lazy is not what is happening. What is happening is defends. Every time you fail to start, your body is protecting you from the voice that will attack you the moment you make a mistake. You are not avoiding the work. You are avoiding the punishment that comes after. Your brain has learned that trying means pain. Therefore, it stops you before you begin. This is the self-punishment paradox. The harder you push, the harder you freeze. The crueler the voice, the deeper the resistance. And you mistake that resistance for weakness. You think it proves you're broken. But resistance is not weakness. Resistance is your body refusing to cooperate with abuse. The moment you stop asking why you cannot just be disciplined and start asking why you speak to yourself this way, that is when the pattern breaks. You were taught that self-criticism creates improvement, that if you are hard enough on yourself, you will finally become enough. But that was always a lie. Self-criticism does not build capacity. It destroys trust, and without trust, you cannot move. Therefore, the voice you think is pushing you forward is the voice holding you in place. Every time it screams, you contract. Every time it attacks, you retreat. You call it motivation. Your body calls it danger. And your body will always win that fight. You cannot override biology with willpower. You cannot shame yourself into freedom. The only way out is to stop fighting yourself. To notice the voice. Name it. Separate from it. The voice is not you. It is a pattern, a learned response, a protector that became a prison guard. And it does not get to drive anymore. Therefore, the shift is not louder discipline. The shift is quieter compassion. When you fail to start the task, the voice will scream. It will tell you this proves everything, that you are exactly as useless as it always said. But that is the moment you speak back. Not with agreement, not with defense, with separation. You say out loud, that is the critic. You do not argue. You do not justify. You simply name it. And then you ask, what would I say to someone else in this position? Not what the critic would say, what you would say. If someone you cared about tried something and stumbled, if they felt ashamed, paralyzed, certain they would always fail, you would not tell them they are right. You would tell them, it is okay to struggle. That trying is enough. That mistakes are part of the process. Therefore, you must extend that same voice to yourself. Not because you deserve comfort, because cruelty does not work. And you have tried cruelty for years. It has never moved you forward. It has only kept you small. Therefore, the fix is not harsher discipline. The fix is ending the attack. The voice will not disappear. You will still hear it. But you do not have to obey it. You do not have to let it decide what happens next. The critic can speak. It does not get the steering wheel. When it tells you that you are lazy, you acknowledge it, and then you move anyway. Not perfectly, not with confidence. Just movement. Small, imperfect. Awkward. You sit down for 5 minutes instead of an hour. You write one sentence instead of a page. You show up even when the voice is screaming that it is not enough, because the voice will always say it is not enough. That is its job. But enough is not the goal. The goal is motion, and motion does not require perfection, it requires permission. Therefore, you stop waiting to feel ready, you stop waiting to feel capable, you stop waiting for the voice to finally approve. You just begin, badly, clumsily, exactly as you are. And when the critic screams that this is pathetic, you do not collapse, you say, "That is the critic. I hear you, I am moving anyway, every single time." Out loud if necessary, until the pattern weakens, until your body learns that trying does not equal danger, that mistakes do not equal failure, that you are allowed to be imperfect and still worthy of your own respect. This is not a mindset shift you complete once. This is a practice, a daily renegotiation with the voice. Some days it will feel easy, some days it will feel impossible. But impossible days do not erase progress, they are part of it. Therefore, you do not need to fix yourself, you need to stop treating yourself like something broken. The problem was never that you lacked discipline. The problem was that you confused discipline with punishment. And punishment does not create growth, it creates freeze. The moment you stop using shame as fuel, you stop triggering the biological response that keeps you stuck. You already know what to do, you just stop, when the voice makes doing it feel like survival.